Alright, I'm going to try to keep this simple and fast. This is about the third attempt I've redone this because I keep on making it super long. So we're going to start off with deleting out all the crap that we're not going to use. I should start off with saying that this is a Genesis 9 body. It is the non-male or female. I have it cut up for my game for what I'm doing, so yours will be a little bit different. If you're using the Genesis 9, it should be all one mesh, so this isn't part of what you'll be doing, but if you do have a random body that you're using that is cut up, then you'll need to delete out all the parts that we're not going to be using. Which is going to be like I said, I have some reproductive parts, so I deleted those out, deleting out the mouth, and I'm deleting out the eyes, and I think everything else I'm going to be keeping. Actually, I want to get rid of hands. I'm not going to be using the hands. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to be making a dress, and it's going to be short sleeve, and I'm just going to cut it right here at where the arms are going to be. So I'm not going to want the arms either. And we can get rid of the feet. I'm not going to be using that. There we go. That's about as basic as I can get it. I'm going to highlight all my meshes, and I'm going to hit Control C and then Control V to make a copy of this. And I'm going to hide my original, because I just want to save it for last in case I goof something up. I'm going to rename it too. There we go. Now this is what I'm mainly going to be playing with, but even with that, I'm going to take all my meshes, and I'm going to come over here, hit Control J for join. Now it is one mesh. Hit Tab, and technically it's still not one mesh, it's still split at these parts. So I'm going to hit A for select all, then I'm going to hit M for merge, and then by distance, 0.01. I merged 167 vertices, so that sounds about right. And I'm going to get back out of edit mode. And this is going to be what I'm going to use to check out where I'm at on everything. You'll see what I mean later on. So I'm going to hit Control C because I have my mesh selected, then Control V. I'm going to hide it for now too. Okay, now this is the one that we're going to be making our dress out of. So we're going to select the torso. We're going to name it dress. Now hold down the Shift key, and you're going to drag and drop it onto the scenes. Hold down the Alt key while you before you let go, and that keeps its shape and size. Then we'll go down to modifier. We're going to delete out its armature. Then we're going to delete out its weights, its UV maps, vertex groups, everything. There's the key I was looking for. Any kind of shape keys it has, delete out those as well. There we go. Now it is just a basic mesh and has absolutely nothing. And we can delete out the armature and skeleton it came with. Now we have just what we're going to be calling the dress. And we're going to determine where we want to make all of our cuts at, so to say. And cuts being, trying to think of a good way to explain it. Well, the cuts being, we're going to want almost a sleeveless dress, which is going to be here. And now we're going to want to figure out where we want the neckline. I'm going to go down to tab mode, or edit mode, by hitting tab. Or else you can just drop down that and hit edit, either or. And I like to show a little bit of neck, so I'm going to select about right here. Hold down the tab key, and you'll see there's vertices. We're going to select in between them, and while holding down the Alt key, and that selects the complete loop. Go and check all the way around, make sure it's where you want. That is where I want. I'm going to hit select, loops, and inner region, and that selects your whole head. And if it doesn't, if it selects the body instead, you can always do select and invert, and it will be selecting the head. Then we hit the delete. There we go. Still look good. If that's what you want, then that's great. Now, since this is like the third time of doing this, I've gotten a little bit better each time. What I like to do is I'm going to be selecting a part of this. The part of this that I want to select is before the mesh gets messy and at a good point, because we're going to be extruding it downwards to cover where we want. I don't really like all this high mesh here, so I'm not going to be selecting all that, because I'm going to consider that my messy part. We're going to select right here. Hold down the Alt, select that for a loop. And that's where I'm going to be making my cut. And of course it's going to show wrong whenever I do my loop select. So we're going to do select invert, and we're going to delete all that out. Now we're going to be turning on the body so I can see where I'm at. There we go. Okay, so we're going to extrude, or grab that, set the -Y. Mine didn't do like it should, so you might not have to go back and undo any of this. Hit E, go down. I'm just going to do it this way this time around, because that looks a lot better. For some reason it grabbed and merged lines. I don't know why it did that. That was something else. Okay, so we're doing it this way this time. You can use either or. If it worked for you the first time, then that's great. No reason to do what I'm doing now. But if it did, then, well, follow along. Nice and even. And let's scale the whole thing back out again. Let go of the center. There we go. Wonder why it only went one direction. Why didn't it just do... There we go. That's more what I was trying to get in the first time too. Now we're going to do a little bit of rotate to get that look we wanted earlier. This seems to be a popular style on video games, so that's what we're trying to go for. Okay, now we're going to scale this out a little bit because it went really wide and not really long like last time. There we go. Okay, so now we want to make a vertex group, and how we're going to do that is we're going to do select invert. Now the reason we're making a vertex group on this part is because we're going to want no physics on any of this up here, and it's easier to do it right now than later. So now you see we have the part that we do want to have physics not selected, the part of no physics selected. Hit Control G with your mouse over here in the viewport. Control G, assign new group, and we're going to call this no physics. There we go. Now we do want to add some nice, pretty poly to it, because this is so low that it's going to look horrible. But we don't really want too much poly at the same time. There we go. See, that looks pretty good. On the back it's going to be much lower poly, but that's fine. You'll see why here soon. We can probably leave it just like that and it'll be alright. So now we're going to go out of edit mode. And then the torso, which is the body, we're going to actually use as collision now. This is the part that I was planning for from the very beginning. So the body is going to have collision to it. And then the dress is going to have the cloth part to it. Now, I like my settings, so I'm going to show you mine. You can make your own. We're going to need to expand the shape, collisions, and then catch. Now, the collisions was expanded because we're going to have the self collisions, and the distance, really all this I kind of leave just the same. I don't really mess with it. The shape, however, the pin group. Now, this is saying what is it that is not going to have collision. That's where we have the no physics that we named earlier. And then up here, my settings are usually 1, 1, and then 0.1. Now, you can come over here, and these are presets. We can change it to silk, rubber, leather, denim, cotton, or you can make a new preset that you just use from this point forward. But I just have my own. Sometimes it needs to be tampered with and messed with, so I never really save anything. Now, this part here, what it does is it makes it into a movie, so to say. And it's going to bake all the way up to the 240th scene. I start off with 100. Sometimes if it's a smaller cloth, just 10, whatever. You also have to play with that and figure out what's going to be best for you. But then you'll hit bake, and it should go fairly fast. The more stuff you edit and tweak, the slower it'll go. The more higher poly of a mesh, the slower it'll go. But we're just going to hopefully this will just be a one-shot perfect thing, which is never going to happen. Yeah. That didn't, wow, that was weird. That's not at all what I was looking for. I'm going to remake my vertex group. I have a fishy feeling that that's what caused that. So we're going to delete out that vertex group. And we're just going to remake that. Hit tab and select right here. Select loops, inner region, and we're just going to hit invert. There we go. And then again, Control G, add new group. There we go. No phi. If this one doesn't work, then I'm just going to pause it and get it where it needs to be. You got to delete bake before you can rebake again. You know what? Hit escape to stop that. Delete bake. I forgot to add in the new group. I was wondering why I was going so slow. That's a lot better. Okay. So, let's see what that looked like. Hopefully better. I'm not going to go as far as saying better, but 100. Definitely, I don't know. I think I need to add more weight and stuff to it. So I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to find just the right settings for me in this dress, and then we'll continue, and I'll show you my settings. So I found pretty close. Obviously, around here where it meets the non-collision or non-cloth area, it did horrible, but we can smooth that out and fix it. Otherwise, all the wrinkles and waves, it looks really good. I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to go ahead and attempt to smooth it out. But in order to, by the way, I should say, you don't have to be okay with the very last frame. You can pick out what frame you want. That's where we started. Let's say you want to keep that frame right there, and you don't want to go any further, that's fine. You can just select that frame. For me, I think I kind of want the very last one. The very last one seemed to be about perfect. And of course, you can take your frame and you can make it a lot further than just the 100. You can go all the way to 240. But for me, I'm just going to, this is fine for me. So you get down to your modifiers, and when you do this cloth, it adds the cloth modifier. Wherever you wanted your looks to stay at, you just set it there, and you click apply. And now this is its actual physical shape. So you can take this and move it wherever you want. It no longer matters. This is the shape of the cloth. And to make this look nice, now we're going to go down to sculpt mode, and we're just going to smooth it out. We're going to try hard not to mess with the sleeves and stuff, but you also have to be careful. There's no real perfect way to do this. We're just going to do the best we can and try to fix things later. We'll have to zoom in and get things a lot better as we go. I might want to undo that last bit right there. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like that because that looks pretty good. If I feel like I might have undone something here. Let me hit Control Z back a few steps, see if I did. No, that was already that bad. Okay. So now we zoom in, and we're going to try to smooth a lot more around where that ridge was. Yeah. Some parts of this did absolutely horrible, but it's alright. And now we need to, since we smooth, of course, now we need to expand everything back out. I have this strength to 0. Oh, I should say on your symmetry, you should always have that X turned on when you're doing this kind of stuff. That way it'll mess with one side equally with the other. And you want it just barely off the skin, not, I mean, if it clips just a smidge, it's fine, because we're going to fix that in the thickness modifier here soon. Probably want to pull that out of the armpit just a little bit. That'd be the only part that can be a little tricky. Yeah, we're going to just see if we can fix that with the thickness modifier. So I don't think I can get that without making it a pretty cattywampus. And now we need to fix this part right here, because there's a crease there that we're not really, shouldn't exist. There was one on the back, but because of me smoothing it all out like I did, it's already fixed. So, well, I say that. It's still a little bit there, but that's up to you if you want to fix that, make it even or not. depending on how heavy this dress is going to determine if there's actually going to be that crease there or not, I guess. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, that's a lot better. Same thing with this. The collarbone. And then smooth. And then bring back out. Perfect. I'm okay with that. Okay, now we have our shape. The next part we want to do is add that solidify modifier I was mentioning. Make sure it's not too far off the breast, actually. Let's, yeah, we're a little ways off the breast, actually. You know what? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, so let's go down to object mode, and we're going to add that solidifier that I keep saying over and over. Solidify, where'd you go? There it is. Now this is my setting that I'm going to show you. I like to do a -0.3 for this cloth, and then I select only rim. Now what that did was it adds I like to call it optimized thickness. If I were to not select the only rim, it creates an inside layer and an outside layer. And of course it connects them, but if I select only rim, it gets rid of the inside layer, because if you're making this, I assume it's for a video game, and we want it to be optimized as much as possible. So I go ahead and apply that. Now the bad part of this is the down here part, because you're going to be able to see that, and there is no inside layer. So what it done was it connected everything with one vertice, or one edge, however you want to look at that. And let's go ahead and go down to edit mode so we can see. See, here's what it added onto that. It's pretty thick. And that is fine because the body's going to be hiding it. Guess right back here, there's a little bit of a clip. Now, this is, there's two different ways that you can look at this. If you're going for a 100% realistic as they can get, this is not for a video game, then that -0.3 I had, you might want to change it to a -0.1. You want to leave that inside layer, and you can sit there and screw with that and get it however you want. But for a video game, you want to keep it as optimized as possible, which means we're going to be deleting the body on the inside as well. But from here, you will want to make that go inside as much as possible. That way, you'll be hiding the missing part of the body. Wrong button. There we go. And there we go. Now I want to hit S for size, and we want to shrink that a ways, and then make it go down. That way you'll still keep its look that's the edge of the cloth. See that? And then we want to do the same thing with the sleeves. And again, there we go. And S for size. Just do right there. And this one here, you don't really got to adjust it much, or if any at all. And if you did it right, I should have done this side too. It did not. Or at least did not do it well enough. So we're going to select this, go down to here. You hold down Control to make it go from one clear to the other. And we're going to turn off this symmetry. And we're going to scale. And of course it centered that. There we go. Scale again. And we're going to call that good enough. It ain't got to be perfect. Now, to fix the actual bottom of the dress part, see it added it onto the bottom dress as well, and it's going to look goofy because we don't have the inside and it's got all these sharp corners. How we're going to fix that is do the same thing. Edge loop. You see it selected that extra part that I added. We're just going to delete it. There. No big deal. Nobody's going to think anything of that. Now we're going to get out of edit mode, and we're going to do our weighted normal to make it all look nice and pretty again. There we go. Now we are actually done with the molding part of this. Now we want to get the UV ready so that way we can move on to the texture. And to do that, we're going to hit Tab. Actually, let's go down to the UV editing screen. Now we're in edit mode, I should say. And you'll see that I have already these UV marks there. That was because it was on the body. It's what I want. It's not going to work anymore. And it shouldn't work anyways because we added mesh to it. And it's not going to be cut at the new mesh. So we're going to select hit the A key for select all. We're going to hit U for UV, which is also up here. And then you can hit clear seam. Now all my seams are gone. Now we're going to be using mark seams. And for me, what I want to be selecting about right here. And you see, I held down the A when I did that select loop on the vertical loop. And it goes from one end all the way down to the other. Now it doesn't get up here or the other side or anything else. I'm going to hit U for UV and then M for mark seam. You can hit the M key or just click it. And now you see it marked that. Now it knows that that's where you want your seam to be. Now we're going to come on over here to the other side of the mesh and do the same thing as close as possible as you can get to where your other side was. And I'm going to say that that's probably about where it was. This is a dress and it's uneven on each side. It's going to be kind of hard to tell, but either way. U and M for mark seam. There we go. We have our seams made. Now we're going to hit A for select all. And now UV and unwrap. People will say this is stupid, but I like to say that they're stupid because this is the right way you should do it. You don't need any kind of special add-on tool or anything for it. Just unwrap. And there it is. It does a perfect job every time, never fail. Now, we have all this extra space that we're not using. What this does is it's determining where your texture is going to be used to be putting onto this mesh. So we want to use as much of the texture as possible, right? Right. So we're going to move it to about a 45-degree angle. Whoops. Like that. And we're not really going to get a whole lot of extra mesh out of this, if at all. Oh, we're not at all. Wonderful. So normally, you can turn out an angle and do what you want. But we're going to... I have this tool here called UV Packer. It's kind of hard to get all together. It is free, but you got to do some steps. I'll probably include a link. I think I already did on one of my tutorials. But either way, I'll relink it onto this one as well. And it's going to find the best possible outcome for you in order to use this. So this is our UV map. This is what we want to use. And me, on the other hand, I like to cheat. And I'm going to be making another one. And I'm going to call this the temp. And I'll show you why we did that here in a second. Now we're going to go down to shading. Now this is the cool part. This is where everybody kind of stresses out and they can't figure out. It's because they didn't take the UV step that we did. We're going to make a new UV, or a new material, or we're going to call it dress. And now we're going to, again, cheat. Now, I like to use a website called, not YouTube, but Ambient CG. This is where you can get free textures. Free. Doesn't cost a thing. You don't have to give them credit. No, nothing. Go down to materials and cloth, leather, fabric, whatever. Find what you like. I guess it helps if I click on it. And it gives you all these different options for different fabrics. Or you can just type in cloth. More options. I really like this one right here. I already downloaded it. Already set it all up. So we're just going to use it. So down here with your mouse down, hit Shift A for search, or for add. And then we'll search, and then we're going to say image, image texture. And we're going to open. And rough cloth. That's the displacement. We want the color. There it is, color. And then we connect color to base color. Now we're going to add a roughness. Shift A, image. I like to get it really close like that. That way I can just do nothing to be confused about it. Rough cloth, roughness. And now for the roughness and anything else other than just straight color, we have to select non-color. And now for the normal map, we need to type in or add and then search normal map. Connect, and then we're doing the same thing. Add another image. Open rough cloth, and if you download from that site, you get two different kind of normal maps. I use the normal GL. And I need to select that to non-color as well. Now you see, now it has a lot of depth to it. Now it looks pretty good. But the problem is now it looks like a gunny sack because it needs to be stretched more on the UV. That way you can make it a lot finer looking. And to do that, we're going to go down to UV and a little cheat here. Expand that way out so you can get to this menu. There you go. Now we can see what we're doing. And we're going to use the temp one to play with it. Notice it says temp because later on we're going to delete it. And voila! You can get it however size you want that makes it look good for you. Still looks pretty dang rough, but it's alright. About right there. Okay. And now we're going to go back down to shading. See, that doesn't look too bad. Now we're going to hit Shift A for add, search, image. Now this is what we're baking our textures to. Okay. We're going to name this to 2K for 2K resolution. And the reason you can change both these values at the same time. I'm going to go back to that and show you. Just by click, drag, there you go. Selects both at the same time. It's a little bit easier, faster that way. And then the reason I named it 2K is because sometimes you're going to have different texture bakes. Some of them will be 4K, some will be 1K, all in one job. And I did the 2K, that way I will know which one is which. It's easier for me. Alpha, hit OK. So now we're going to be getting ready to bake. And for baking, we need to select the texture we're baking to. We need to make sure we're selected the mesh, and then the UV we want to bake to. Now see, the image, or this camera means which one is rendering. Okay, so we're rendering the temp to make it the size that we want. Then the UV map here, that's the one we want to bake to. It's not rendering, but that's okay. We don't want it to render yet. And then for baking, we have to be on cycles. I don't know why it's on experimental. I think I did that earlier. And then for this here, I normally just make it about 10 because it's not really going to matter on what we're doing. But you will need to adjust that to the quality you want. Higher sampling means higher quality, but also will take longer, obviously. And the first thing that we want to do is make a normal object. And you're going to be wondering why. I will show you why. This is the fun part. Always have your size all the way up as high as you can make it. That gives you more wiggle room. Hit bake. Shouldn't take real long. And here we go. This is our object space normal map is what that's called. We're going to go down to image and we're going to save as. And I'm going to, this is a shirt that I made earlier. We're just going to make a new folder. This is going to be for the dress. Double click. And we're going to name this as the object space. And I'm going to save it as a black and white. The reason being, I will show you. The cool part of this, whenever I double click on it, it opens up. If you zoom in, because we had the normal map as the texture for the cloth texture, it brought that in as well. And now it looks pretty darn neat. And I'll show you the more neat part of that, is that we're going to use that as part of our texture. Now, you can keep this if you want to use that, but this is just another option that I will show you. It's because we're still using the other UV map and I baked it to a different one. It's going to look like this. So we hit Shift A for add, search, UV map. Because we want this one to use its original UV map. There we go. And you see it has, it baked on being the black and white. It looks like the light, like it baked the light into it. But we're going to move this way out of the way. And we're going to use color ramp. Shift A, search, color ramp. Oop, clicked on the wrong one. Okay. We put it up here, that way we can do this and this. Okay, so now because I use black and white, it's literally using the black and white. The black is going to be black and the white is going to be the white. Fun part is that you can change this. The white, you want it to be a little bit darker. It's about right here. And then your black, we're going to make it a little bit lighter. To about here. Cool, right? Very cool. Now that might be a little bit too much, honestly. So we're going to probably make the... Oh, I didn't select the black to begin with. I thought I did, but I didn't. I failed. Actually, yeah, I'll keep that color. That's fine. But we'll go down to the black and change the black to a not so black. There we go. Now what this does is it adds the depth to your texture. Pretty nice. And then if you really want to get fun with it, we can come on over here and we can add in another texture. We're going to just put it down here and we're going to select that original one that we had, that we made. I guess not made. There we go, the original color. and we can leave it the same. And then I think we hit mix, or is it combine? Let me see. I think it's a mix. We'll see. Yeah, I think it's this one. I'm going to go here and here. And now what this is going to do is it's going to blend these. And this is about even. This keeps the original texture that we had and the depth, adding the depth to it. You see, go all the way over here. It's just the original texture. Go all the way over here. It's just the depth. So go about in the middle, and you got both. Pretty neat. And then we can go ahead and start actually baking stuff. And a part of this that I absolutely hate that it does is this is my original. You see what I baked. It also made a copy of it over here. So whenever I bake, it's going to destroy what I did, kind of. We can get it right back real easy, so don't worry about it. But we're going to make a diffuse. Turn off your indirect and your direct. Make sure color's on. Clear image, 64, bake. Make sure, again, your mesh is all selected, your texture you want to bake to, then bake. Again, shouldn't take real long, but it will mess with this, and you'll see it here in a minute. See, it changed it, but that's okay. This is the outcome of what we made. Image, we're going to save as, and now we're going to say dress underscore, and you can name it C for color or D for diffuse, whatever you want to do. And this is only black and white for me, so I'm going to keep this as black and white. If you have other colors, you want to use RBG or RGB, and if you have some alpha to it, then you'll need to select the one with an A on it for alpha. And I'm going to hit select or save as. Okay, now I'm going to be baking a roughness, and a part of that is I want to select non-color, and of course because that one is using the same, it's still messing with it every time I do this. So select roughness. Again, won't take very long. An image, save as. And I always do black and white, and I actually change it to JPG because I really don't need a high quality image on this one. And now over here, we're going to be making a actual normal map that we want to use for the game. So we'll need to change it from object to tangent because tangent works a lot more reliable. And bake. And now we're going to save that. We're going to name it to dress in for normal map. We're going to go back to RBG and PNG, save. Okay, now we can change our normal map, or our UV maps, I should say, back to rendering the UV. And now we change all of our textures back. We're going to change this one to its actual diffuse. We can get rid of the mix here. We can get rid of this texture. Just put it back. There we are. And we can get rid of this one. We can get rid of this UV. We can and then we're going to select all of our roughness. And then we select our normal map. There we go. Then we can delete this one out too. Now, the cool part of all this, I guess I need to change these back to non-color. That way you can see the actual outcome of it. Oh, that one's okay. And that is your dress. That is done how we want it. Now, the more fun part is we're going back to our model. So here we made this one for the collision. We also get to use it for the weights. So we're going to go back to layout. I feel like that normal needs to be redone. Nope. Let's see. Something's just funny about it. Keep sharp maybe? No. Hmm. Kind of like that. It's a little bit rough though. For choice, huh? Maybe about right there. That's close enough. I like that more. Okay, so we're going to apply that. And now, since we're baking it onto this one, we're going to hold down the Shift key, drop it onto the model, but hold down the Alt key before letting go of your mouse. That keeps the shape and size. And now we're going to add the armature, and it needs to be onto the model 001, because that's where we're copying the weights from. And then this is another add-on, the mesh data transfer. I will send you a link to that. It is free, made by a very smart person that wasn't me. So it needs to be on world closest, and then for the source is the source that we're getting the weights from. When you have that, we're going to be transferring vertex groups. Okay, now you'll see we have all the weights here. We're going to go down to weight mode, or weight paint, and you'll see all of everything transferred. Should be nice and well done. I'm going to zoom out here and just make sure. So far everything looks good. Okay. No physics. That's what I made earlier. I can delete that out. I'm no longer using it. Okay, so we need to remove the things that we will not be using, of course. This is just an optimization thing. So get rid of all these. I'll need to explain what that is, or that. The glute, I mean, that's your butt weights, if you have that. This is a special model that I have modified, so you might not have that, and I really don't want the butt weights on there anyways. Pectoral, yes. Ears, no. Anything to do with the face, no. We're not going to have any of that going on. Neck, I guess not. Guess not. Upper arms, I don't know. It might have a little bit on there. Yeah, that one does, but not this one. So this is what you do. You'll be going through and just removing all of them that you don't have any need for. Shoulder, definitely. Get rid of those, the number 2s. Spine, it definitely uses those. That was rough. We're going to have to smooth some of these out. If you're using Unity, then we're going to be adding physics to most of this dress anyways. So, I don't know, I'm going to just keep those there. I would just use the spine weights on, and if you're not going to add physics, I would just have all this down here as the pelvis, possibly. Getting rid of the toe weights because we're not going to have any of that. The shin, I guess. That's part of your foot. We're not going to have any of that going on. Pelvis, definitely. Squint, I think that's part of the eyes. Again, yeah, it was. We're not going to use any of that. We're not going to have the head or any of the eye, no tongue weights. No teeth either. There we go. Now we have everything we need. And some parts of this that I know I will be using for weights didn't look real good, which is this. So we go down to blur, and you just kind of, just like this, blur it out. If you don't do too much, because then it just kind of gets rid of the weight completely. So you got to be a little bit careful with what you're doing. And that is the spine 4. I'm sure that's fine. Shoulders were all right. Forearm twist, shoulder. These edges didn't look real good. We can fix that up a little. There we go. And that's it for the weights. So as of right now, you can consider this done, really. But I also want to take this a little bit further. You can see there's going to be some clipping through here. That's why it's shuttering like that. I wouldn't have noticed if I wouldn't have gone into weight paint mode. So I'm going down to sculpt, and I'm just going to pull this out just a little bit. Definitely when you go in game, you'll see clipping, and you'll want to just bring this back in and adjust as needed. But for the next step, we have blend shapes to worry about, and also we need to get rid of this here temp because we no longer use it. In fact, we're going to go to the UV here, make sure everything's all selected, and we're going to add another one, and this is going to be the Lightmap. This isn't really needed for most scenarios, but if you're using Unity, the Lightmap is important. It can generate one, but it will have overlapping on something like this, so making your own map is going to be the best. You'll want to hit U, which is the UV button up here. Hit U, and then Lightmap pack. People say don't do this. I ignore them. It makes this. Now, this is good enough for light mapping. And you can, let me actually go back there, U, and then L. You can adjust your margin space. That's going to be the space between them. You might want to adjust that by quite a bit. But if you have this tool over here, the UV packer, then you just do that just so that way it breaks it up. And I just leave the settings how they are on this. Hit the button one time. You see it goes fairly fast. What it does is it optimizes the amount of space and makes everything, what I say, almost perfect. And I just leave it at that. Now you have your normal UV map and you have your light map. And now we're going to go do the last part of this, which is the shape keys. So I have shape key wrap. That's another add-on which I will link. We're going to select the dress, then hold down the control and select torso. Then transfer by the list. Check all or refresh does the same thing. And then transfer shape keys. Okay, so that finished. It took me a little break, so I might sound a little bit different. My voice is just killing me. I don't normally talk much at all, ever, to anybody. So now we have our vertex groups on there. I'm looking the wrong one. Our vertex groups are on there. we have our UVs, and we have our shape keys. There it goes. But we have it on the temporary model. We don't have it on the right one. So we need to hold down the Shift, drag, Alt, drop. That puts it on the original. And then with the dress, now we're going to need to go to this, the modifier, armature, and then select our original. And then we want to preserve volume. And we're going to delete out the copy that we made. And we have everything all good to go. This is the outcome of what it should look like. I do suggest some pants. I didn't expect it to go that high, but I mean, I see a lot of outfits made that are that way anyway, so it's whatever. But yeah, that is literally it. Now, depending on how you make your outfits work on your body, the reason I did this is because we need to use the original skeleton. And on mine, my original skeleton is called model. And what I have to do on mine is I delete out all the body and I leave just the dress. That's how my setup is. One piece is hanging out there quite a ways. Probably should have smoothed it out more, but it's alright. And when you're done with this, we're going to actually, I need to select it and make sure everything's all good. Yep. Okay, we're all good. Down to File and Export as an FBX. And then on your path mode, actually, you know what? I skipped one small step. Get down to File, Clean Up, Unused Data Blocks. You'll see a ton of stuff there. Click it. And then Clean Up, Reclusive, Unused Data Blocks. Click, and then click again, and that removes it all. Now on our shading, if you remember, I talked about that one. Whenever it's done, it renames it to whatever. Here it is. How we're going to fix that, because my next step, by putting the textures inside your FBX, it's going to name this texture 2K, and that's going to be rather misleading of what it is. So we go down to the Blender file on this top part, and it shows us everything. We have our images. We need to change this to dress underscore, and if you use diffuse, then D. Actually, what on earth? Oh, this is the normal map. So N and then dot PNG. I don't think that part's really going to matter much, but there we go. Now, as you see, it changed its name over here. Now we can go to Export FBX, and we change the path mode to copy. This will make a copy of the textures, and then embed the textures. And then I come over here to the armature. I don't know the reason why it defaults to adding the leaf bones. What it does is, for every chain of bones that you have, like the fingers, there's usually like 3 bones in each finger. This will add a 4th to everything, or an extra bone onto everything. I don't know why that's defaulted to add those. I always uncheck it. And now we can export it to whatever we want to name it. We're going to name it Dress FBX and export. And you're done. In Unity, you just drag and drop it in there. It'll have its materials and its textures inside the file. You can do whatever you want from there, however you normally do it. That's all. Hope you enjoyed the video.